Imagine being told your entire career that you are a substitute, a replacement, a second choice. Imagine spending decades being the man the industry called upon when someone better was unavailable. Imagine being compared constantly and relentlessly to a legend you could never replace, not because you lacked the talent, but because the world had already made up its mind. This is the story of Zhao Wenzhuo, a man born in the frozen northeast of China, raised by a martial artist father and a sprinting champion mother, who climbed to national glory before he was 20 years old, and then spent the next 2 decades fighting a battle far harder than any fight scene he ever performed. A battle for his own name, a battle for his own identity, a battle to prove that he was never anyone's substitute. He was always the original Harbin, the beginning the 10th of April, 1972, Harbin, Heilongjiang, a city in the deep northeast of China where winters are brutal and character is forged in the cold. Zhao Wenzhuo was born the youngest of 3 sons into a family that does not know how to be ordinary. His father is a martial arts practitioner. His mother is a professional sprinter who holds the record for being the fastest female sprinter in all of Harbin. From the very beginning, this child is surrounded by people who understand what the body is capable of when the mind refuses to set limits. His father puts him in martial arts lessons at age 5. The young Zhao is curious, energetic, distracted. He loves singing more than training, which leads to a brief but important detour. But then, in the early 1980s, he is sent to the Harbin Wushu Academy, and something shifts. The art of wushu reaches inside this boy and grabs something. He stops being distracted. He stops dividing himself. He commits, and when Zhao Wenzhuo commits to something, the world eventually has no choice but to take notice. The rise to national glory by 1985, Zhao Wenzhuo is 13 years old and already the youngest member of the Harbin Wushu team. Let that register: 13 years old, in a team of elite athletes, the youngest. Not the most experienced, not the most celebrated, but already among the best his city had produced. He trained in multiple wushu disciplines, Tong Beiquan, Tai Chi in both the Chen and Yang styles, the sword, the spear. His body became a library of martial knowledge. His mind became a library of competitive strategy. In 1990, he was accepted by the Beijing Sport University, one of China's most prestigious athletic institutions, to study martial arts formally. And then he began collecting gold medals the way other students collected class notes. The National Junior Championship, the National All-Around Championship, the National Martial Arts Championship. First place, first place, first place. His classmates at Beijing Sport University gave him a nickname that followed him for the rest of his life. They called him the Kung Fu King. He had not made a single film yet. He had not appeared on a single screen. But he was already royalty in the world he had chosen. The Discovery, Fong Sai-yuk and Jet Li, 1992. Hong Kong film producer Corey Yuen arrives at Beijing Sport University with a specific mission. He is looking for a martial artist to play the villain in his upcoming film Fong Sai-yuk starring Jet Li. He is taken to Zhao Wenzhuo's instructor. The instructor points him toward his most gifted student. Corey Yuen watches, and immediately he knows. He has found his man. There is one small problem. Zhao Wenzhuo is not interested. He has a university to finish. He has a martial arts career in front of him. Acting was not something he had ever considered, but Yuen insisted. Friends encouraged. Mentors pushed. And Zhao Wenzhuo, the youngest national champion, the Kung Fu King of Beijing Sport University, finally said yes. The film came out in 1993. Zhao played the villain opposite Jet Li's hero. He was 21 years old. He was terrifying and brilliant on screen, and the entire industry watched a young man walk onto a set for the very first time and perform as if he had been born for it. Producer Tsui Hark, one of Hong Kong cinema's greatest visionaries, was watching, and he had a phone call to make. Stepping into the legend, Wong hung the phone call from Tsui Hark changed everything. Jet Li had terminated his contract with the Once Upon a Time in China franchise, one of Hong Kong cinema's most beloved series, and Tsui Hark needed someone to step into the role of Wong Hung, the iconic Chinese folk hero and martial arts legend. He chose Zhao Wenzhuo at 21 years old, in just his second professional role, Zhao was handed the most prestigious role in Chinese martial arts cinema, a role that Jet Li himself had made legendary. Once Upon a Time in China IV and V, both critical and commercial successes. The Blade in 1995, directed by Tui Hark, a dark and visceral film that critics would later call one of the greatest martial arts films ever made. The Wong Fei-hung television series, which aired for 2 years and achieved some of the highest ratings in Hong Kong. By the mid-1990s, Zhao Wenzhuo was one of the most recognizable martial arts stars in Asian cinema. He was only in his early 20s, and the world should have been his. The shadow of comparison and the dark years. But here is where the story becomes painful and important, because success arrived for Zhao Wenzhuo wearing a label he never asked for. Everywhere he went, in every review, in every conversation, the comparison was made. He is not Jet Li. He is filling Jet Li's shoes. He is the replacement, the substitute. The industry, which can be as cruel as it is generous, began to define him by what he was not rather than what he was. And then came decisions, some his own, some the industry's, that made things worse. A film called Body Weapon in 1999 damaged his reputation seriously. It was a misguided production entirely at odds with the honor and discipline he brought to every other role. It condemned him to smaller productions, television dramas, and the margins of an industry that had so recently been applauding him. He signed with Hollywood agency CAA in 2006. With help from Jackie Chan, he was selected to play the lead villain in Rush Hour 3. And then the role was given to someone else. He spent a year and a half in America, navigating a system that did not know quite what to do with him, building towards something that never fully arrived. When he returned to Beijing in 2008, he was, by his own admission, in obvious physical and emotional breakdown. The Kung Fu King had lost his throne. Or so it seemed. The comeback, true legend. But Zhao Wenzhuo did what champions do. He got back up. He returned to Beijing. He rebuilt his body and his spirit. He took roles that mattered and prepared for them with the same discipline that had earned him national championships at 17. In 2010 came True Legend, directed by Yuan Wu. Ping, the legendary action director behind The Matrix and Crouching Tiger. Hidden Dragon. Zhao played Sukan, a martial arts master who loses everything and must find a way back. The film was his own story wearing a different costume. True Legend received mixed reviews and underperformed at the box office. But critics noticed something important. Zhao Wenzhuo's performance was extraordinary. His portrayal of Su can convince studios and directors that this man still had everything it took to carry a film, that he was not finished, that whatever had been lost in the difficult years had not only been recovered, it had been deepened by the suffering. The man who had been broken came back with more truth in his eyes than he had ever had before. Returning to his legend, God of War and beyond from True Legend forward, Zhao Wenzhuo rebuilt with patience and purpose. God of War in 2017, a historical epic about the great Ming Dynasty general Qi Ji Guang, brought him critical praise from The Hollywood Reporter, which recognized his commanding, disciplined presence on screen. Kung Fu League in 2018 placed him alongside digital versions of Bruce Lee, IP Man, and Wong Fei, hung himself a full-circle moment that the universe seemed to have planned. Warriors of the Nation, The Unity of Heroes, Invisible Tattoo, each film a further brick in a legacy being rebuilt on his own terms, with his own name, at his own pace. He became the first Chinese Goodwill Ambassador for Health Qigong in 2017, a recognition not of his fame, but of his philosophy, that the body and the spirit are one thing. That discipline is not punishment, but devotion. That what you practice in private determines what you become in public. The man behind the legend and through all of it, the golden years, the dark years, the Hollywood detour, the slow rebuild, Zhao Wenzhuo remained something that fame often destroys. He remained a real person. He said once without any bitterness, "I never took professional acting classes. The only thing I could do back then were sports and martial arts. In order to train myself, I must accept more television series to touch up my acting." No arrogance, no complaint. Just a man who looked at his limitations, honestly, and decided to work on them. He married Zhang Danlu in 2006. They have 3 children, a son named Joseph, a daughter named Rosita, and another son named Zilong, named after a famous historical general. He is a father, a husband, an ambassador, an artist, and still, above everything, a martial artist. Not because the industry requires it, because he cannot be anything else. So what does the life of Zhao Wenzhuo teach us? It teaches us something the entertainment industry rarely says out loud, that being compared to someone else is not a verdict on your worth. That being called a substitute is only true if you accept the label. That the dark years, the years of body weapon and Hollywood disappointments and physical breakdown, were not wasted years. They were the years that gave true legend its truth. They were the years that gave God of War its gravitas. They were the years that turned a talented young champion into something far rarer and far more valuable. A man who had been through the fire and come out carrying something real. Zhao Wenzhuo was never Jet Li. He was never supposed to be. He is Zhao Wenzhuo, the Kung Fu king of Harbin, the man who trained before the sun rose in a frozen northeastern Chinese city and became a national champion before most people his age had figured out what they wanted to be. The man who fell and came back, the man who carried a legend's name and made it his own. This has been the story of Zhao Wenzhuo. Thank you for watching ZTV Mindset, where every week we bring you a story that reminds you that your name, your journey, and your legacy belong to no one but you. Subscribe, share this with someone who needs it today, and we will see you in the next story. Because legends are not born, they are built one difficult year at a time.